Story number 1 by Stephen Gonzalez. My father had a pretty serious stroke back in 2004, was unconscious for about 2 weeks, and spent a total of almost 3 months in the hospital. I used to visit him every day from morning until night. We didn't have any insurance at the time, so we had to stay in a ward with up to 7 other patients at a time, although usually it was 3 to 4 patients. One of the patients was a man in his mid to late 60s. He was a very kind man, whose bed was directly in front of my father's. One day, I came back from a quick lunch break, only to find my father sleeping, and there was nothing on the TV for me to watch. I was bored, and sort of zoned out staring in the general direction of the elderly patient in front of me, who happened to be getting a visit from his kids and grandchildren. As I was zoned out, I started to notice something floating above this man. I looked up and saw 3 shadowy figures floating in a circular pattern around him. They looked like 3 people wearing dark cloaks, but with no hands or feet, and seemed to be diving in and out of a hole I couldn't see. One moment they would disappear into the hole, and the next they would pop right back out. I sat there stunned as I watched this, and that's when one of them broke off from the circle of 3 and floated in my direction. It got right in my face, and I just backed my head as far back as I could in the chair I was sitting in. After that, it floated back to the other 3, and then they all went out the back wall and disappeared. I had the most sickening feeling that this man was going to die. I just knew that these things were there because he wasn't going to make it. The elderly patient had been fine the whole time I had known him, but later that night he started complaining about stomach pains. The next day, he was moved to the private room next to ours, and the day after that, I ran into his daughter, who was crying her eyes out. Knowing the answer, I asked her what was wrong. She said, "My father died today. He was fine, and then he just got sicker and died. We still don't know what happened." I felt so sad for her and that lovely family, but there was no point in telling her what I saw, so I kept it to myself. To this day, I'm still not 100% sure of what I saw, but it was pretty disturbing, if I'm being honest. Story number 2 by Jane Uresti. Having been a nurse for 30 years, I have seen some things that I am unable to explain. I always tried to find a logical, scientific answer for anything out of the ordinary, but sometimes that wasn't possible. One day, one of our nurses in the post-open-heart surgical ICU where I worked went to draw out some medication from the Pyxis machine. A Pyxis machine is an automated medication dispenser. You put in your code, the names of all the patients on your unit appear on the screen. You choose yours, and then it displays their meds and you take them out. Simple. "Who's taking care of Florence?" the nurse asked all of us. "Who?" we said. "We don't have a patient named Florence." "I don't think so. Her name is on our machine. Pharmacy, where the master machine was located, must have screwed up and put her here instead of where she really is." She called the pharmacy and informed them of their error. "What are you talking about?" the pharmacist asked. "We have the master machine and we enter all of the names in the entire hospital. I am looking at your machine. There is no one named Florence in your machine." "I'm not crazy. I'm looking at her name right now. If you don't believe me, then come up here yourself," the nurse told him, annoyed. He did. He couldn't explain it. He called the Pyxis company technician. He came to the hospital and didn't know what to make of it either. He said it was impossible to have a name show up in one machine and not appear in the master machine. After a week, her name disappeared on its own. The pharmacy insisted that they hadn't removed it. A month later, it happened again. As before, her name didn't show up in the master, but it did in ours. It stayed for a while, then disappeared. After a few months of this, we began to see a pattern. Florence would stay in our pyxis until 3 people died, then she would disappear. It didn't even need to be our patients. Any deaths in the hospital would do. But it was always 3. It reached a point where someone would go to the pyxis and gasp, "Ladies, hang on to your patients. Florence is back." We would look around nervously. Some of us would even have conversations with the ceiling. "Stay away from my patient, Florence. Go find someone else to take." We used to joke that Florence was a celestial bus driver with a need to fill her big black bus with the dead. Once she had all her passengers on board, she would drive them to their final destination. We would hear a code blue call in the hospital and wait a reasonable amount of time, then page the nursing supervisor. "Did the code on 5 West make it?" we would ask. "No. How many does Florence have now?" Everyone knew about our ghost. "That makes 2. 1 more and she will leave us alone for a while." We tried to find out who our ghost was. We had checked our records, and we knew that she had never passed through our ICU. We were at a loss as to why she was targeting us. Finally, one of the secretaries got an idea. "Let's look in the death book," she said. The death book was a ledger book in which we would handwrite the name of every patient who died in our ICU or in the operating room. It was a huge tome with hundreds of pages of names. Sure enough, we found Florence in the death book. She had died a week before her first appearance in our pyxis. The reason we couldn't find any record of her was because she had never made it to our ICU. She was meant to, but she had died during surgery on the OR table. We figured that she was haunting us because she had wanted to come into the ICU and never got the chance. After almost a year, we decided to send our ghost away. So how do you get rid of a ghost? Exorcism? Seance? No. We plan to do what any group of science-based, educated, rational people would do. Throw a ghost a going-away party. More specifically, a go-towards-the-light party. On the anniversary of her death, we borrowed a CPR mannequin from the education department, put her in a hospital gown, sat her at the head of the table in our kitchen, and placed a sign around her neck that said, "Hi, my name is Florence." We printed a huge banner saying, "Bon voyage, Florence. Have a safe trip to the afterlife," and strung it up in the break room. Everyone brought food, and we had a potluck. Within an hour, word had spread all over the hospital that the crazy open-heart ICU nurses were having a party for a ghost. People came from other units just to see if it was true. Like ethereal spirits themselves, young doctors appeared out of thin air, sniffing the scent of our cooking and salivating over the table, groaning with food. Baby docs were always scrounging for a free meal. We heard you were having a party. Do you have any extra food that we could—" "You know," they said, trying not to look so hungry and desperate. "Of course, there's plenty here," we told them as we loaded up their plates. They ate hungrily and stared at the mannequin. "What's that all about?" they asked between bites. "That's Florence. She's our ghost. We threw her this going-away party so that she will stop haunting us and gathering the souls of the dead to drive off in her bus," we told them straight-faced. They glanced at each other warily. "Okay. Hey, is that key lime pie?" After our party, not a day went by that we didn't hold our breath when we accessed the Pyxis machine, searching for her name. She never reappeared. It seems all she wanted was awake. To hear more horror stories, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We'll catch you in the next one.